Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of KFFB's Open Mic program. We do have Dennis Cavanaugh with us. He's with the National Weather Service in Little Rock. And all this week, we're going to talk about Winter Weather Awareness Week. Today, we're going to talk about the outlook for the upcoming winter. Also, tomorrow, which is Tuesday, winter precipitation types. Winter weather watches, warnings, and advisories on Wednesday. Thursday, it'll be winter weather safety rules. And on Friday, the cold of winter. And it's going to be a busy week this week, Dennis, for our open mics. But one thing, everybody looks at you, they say Dennis Cavanaugh has a crystal ball. And we want to know what you see in a crystal ball for this winter.
That's right. Yeah. So this winter, one of the main controlling factors is going to be the El Nino Southern Oscillation. And that's basically where we look at the temperature of the waters in the Pacific Ocean near the equator. And this year, those water temperatures are running about 1.5 degrees Celsius below normal, which gives us a La Nina type winter here, December through February. What that means for Arkansas is, generally speaking, it means a warmer and drier than normal winter. But again, that's a 90-day average. It doesn't mean we're not going to have, one or two major winter storms. It doesn't even mean we won't have a major cold outbreak. It's just when we look back on that 90-day period, an average will probably be warmer than normal and drier than normal. If we have a couple of really bad winter storms, people are going to think that this winter was awful, even if most of the other days were 70 degrees. So that's just how these things work. It's all about perception and perspective.
Now, when you look back in your crystal ball and you can see forward, as they say, and we're kind of joking about that, but people really do believe you are psychic sometimes. But you look back, what do you think
it would be nice.
Yeah. What would you think is the worst winter for north central Arkansas?
So north central Arkansas, I would say you had a pretty major ice storm in January of 2009. That led to, I think there was 1 to 1.5 inches of ice in most places, and that knocked down power lines, power poles, towers, trees, and it left some folks in rural communities without power, in excess of a week. So that was a really high impact winter storm, and if folks weren't prepared for that, it was really hard to get out and get food, get supplies. So, if a big major winter storm is coming and it might knock out your infrastructure for a week, you've got to have enough supplies on hand, water, food, clothing, just to keep yourself warm, fed, and hydrated throughout that event. So that was probably the most major event that you've had. And then I want to say Christmas of 2012, almost the whole state experienced blizzard-like conditions. But that was all snow, and snow typically doesn't do as much lasting damage as ice. Snow makes things inconvenient, but it also tends to go away faster.
And can you explain what happens when we do have an ice storm to the power lines? Why is that such an issue?
When you get even 1/4 of an inch of ice on the power lines, water weighs an incredible amount. It's 8.6 pounds per gallon, and 1/4 of an inch of ice spread out over the entire breadth of one power line, you're putting almost 1,000 pounds of pressure on that power line, and that causes those things to, they're made out of wire, so they're metal, so they can handle a lot, but you put that incredible weight on the power lines, and then if you get even a little bit of wind, that gets those power lines swinging, and with all that weight on them, they tend to fall right off the pole, or sometimes just snap. So that's one of the ways it can bring power lines down. Also, if you just get too much ice on the tower that's holding the power lines up, the tower itself can collapse because the ice is so heavy, and then that brings the power lines down with it. So every time we see a major ice storm, and when you had 1 inch to 1.5 inches, that's going to knock out most of the power infrastructure. It takes a really long time to get that back up and running again.
All right, we've been talking with Dennis Cavanaugh. It's Winter Weather Awareness Week, and we've got coming up tomorrow, Dennis, we'll be talking about winter precipitation types. That should be interesting.
Yes, look forward to it.